Right, Niall, are you happy to answer a few questions about your experience in the SEALs?
I am.
Would you like me to read them to you?
I would.
Question number 1. Was it scary when you arrived?
Yes.
Okay. Why?
Because I put so much work into it already, and I think the fear of failure was the worst. And then I learned fear of the instructors, and that was real fear. but yeah, I think fear of failure was the biggest one, and just like anxiety, but in a good way, because you've been waiting so long and preparing so much for this, and this was all you had done for years, actually. You know, by the time I signed up or decided that I was going to when I got there was years, and I had prepared hard for it, because I knew that no matter how hard I prepared, I wasn't going to be fully prepared for it.
Yeah.
That's the whole basis of it, really, to see how you do under pressure that you don't understand or you haven't been under before. So it's that shock value. But I did my best to prepare as best I could. So.
Good. But it was still terrifying.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. What was the food like?
The food was energy. The food was fuel, because I remember one morning I remember going to lunch one day. We used to run to lunch. We used to, the meal where we ate was a mile away from where we trained. So we had to run 3 times a day to go there. And we missed breakfast because we messed up in a schedule. We messed up an evolution schedule, which was, I think, done on purpose by the instructors. They do that too. So our morning breakfast had been cut very short, so half of us didn't get to eat, and I was at the half that didn't get to eat. And I remember getting to lunch and not having any juice at all in the tank, like literally struggling back big time. And the half that didn't get to eat in the morning got to eat first at lunchtime. So
But what was food? What typically was breakfast day?
Loads,
Okay.
whatever you wanted. So like it was a chow hall, which is a food hall basically, that fed thousands on another base. So there was a massive variety. You had fruit, everything. You had everything there that you wanted. Everything was pre-cooked though the night before, so it wasn't home cooking. The flavour of it wasn't fresh, you know. It was all reheated stuff. So like going to a really bad restaurant. But
like school dinners kind of thing.
I guess I haven't had a school dinner since I lived here when I was a kid. but yeah, it was. You just went through a line and you just got whatever. We got whatever we wanted. So we had a tray that was piled up plates, and you ate everything.
Yeah.
Like hypothermia, I think, was one of the ones that I remember. It was like being drunk. You couldn't talk properly. You couldn't function. Like being drunk. Everything stopped working. You know, your body not being, and your mouth not working properly. Everything kind of shutting down. You know, and you're like, that's weird.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. You can get hypoxia, which is we had to do a 50-meter underwater swim. You jump into an Olympic-sized pool, do a front flip, and then swim underwater to the other side, push off the other side, so it's 25 and 25 without a breath. And but you have SEALs swimming above you to pull you up, because a lot of guys pass out. So that was another one. So it wasn't really drowning, but you do pass out for not being able to breathe.
Okay. Well, that's drowning in my book. Did you stay in touch with anyone?
I have searched on social media for the guys that I went through training with, and I was the youngest guy, so out of all my friends, I was the youngest guy in the whole class. most of my mates were, my youngest mate was 26, where I was 19. And they weren't the social media type. So, two things. One, they're not the type, and I haven't found them, even when I have searched. And part of me is fearful that to know if they're still there. You know, like one guy that was in EOD, one mate that was in EOD, which is explosive ordnance demolition. They call it something different now, but it's bomb disposal in the military, which is going to wherever these places are, and you know, car bombs, roads, bombs, and they detonate these, and they made a film about it. And I think it's probably the most dangerous job in the military. So his name is Calloway, and I fear to, you know, find out sometimes. So, you know, I haven't kept in touch. No.
Okay, next question. If you had stayed, what would you have done?
I'd have been deployed to Afghanistan.
Right.
Was where the military was at the time. George Bush was in power at the time, or he was president at the time, and that was just after. So when 9/11, the Twin Towers happened, I had been in the military for 12 days. 12 days. So that's where they went to after.
Do you regret having to leave early?
At the time, I did. It was, yeah. Now, looking back, I think it was a blessing in disguise. Looking back, but I think it took a long time to get there.
Do you want to explain why you left?
I got ill. I got pneumonia in training, and didn't. If I could broaden the story, when I got to SEAL training, I just missed the class that was starting up. So when I got there, it takes about 3 months to build a class. So I got there and the base was full. So I got a room, and 4 of us, it was 4 to a room. I got a room that had been condemned or was close to the ocean but had a massive damp problem, which is why I hate damp now. And ended up, whether or not this was the cause of the pneumonia, that is debatable, depending on who you talk to. But yeah, I got pneumonia through training, and I didn't get rid of it, and I kept going, and I went until it stopped me. So that left me pretty damaged after that to carry on. Like permanently damaged one of my lungs with that, and yeah, so that's why.
Okay, the next one is, what were your trainers like?
Different. They're all different. It's like you're meeting a total different bunch of guys. They're all different in their own little way. Some were scary, some were scary, some were nice, some were friendly, some were crazy, some were cocky, some were family people actually, but I didn't meet as many of them. But were just good, but all good people. Some of them had a story where they had been injured permanently on deployment and ended up stuck in instructor duty, which is not what they wanted. It was just part of it. You had to train the guys, because it's like a maternity, you train the guys coming through as well as do missions or do work as well, which I think was what most went in for. And then there was responsibility to train the new guys coming through and to make sure that the standard was high enough. But there was one guy in particular who had hurt his back on the ground. There was two. It was the senior chief that had his broken his leg parachuting into a stadium. It was a thing that they did. Yeah, they did. They did a thing for some football game as an American thing, you know. But I think he was going to be okay. But he was mean. But he was all right. I did talk to him and he was okay. But everybody else was scared of him, so I was careful with him. And there was one guy who was bitter. I found him a bit bitter because I think he'd hurt himself. And that's nothing against him. He just, I think, was a bit fed up of being an instructor. And he was hard. He was scary. I think you wanted to make yourself invisible all the time if he was around. Yeah.
Okay. There was a lot of difficult parts of boot camp, but what was the hardest part of it?
Boot camp was
Boot camp.
regular boot camp.
Yeah.
The sleep deprivation. Well, I volunteered for it as training to go forward to the SEALs, and I knew I had it coming, so I thought that I could train myself to have less sleep. But all I ended up doing was just falling asleep, standing up all the time.
Very good. Backfired. And lastly, would you recommend joining? And if so, who do you think would best suit joining?
I would. I would. Who would recommend best suit joining?
Who would you recommend would be best suited to join it then?
Anybody who really enjoys an adventure or a challenge or doing something for their country or meeting really good people, experience, you name it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, Niall, thanks for your time.
Thank you.